Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the ACW Newscast number 50. I am Hakeem Johnson, your ACW commentator as always, and you heard me right. It's the 50th episode of the ACW Newscast. Now, I know it's not like the 100th or 200th or 500th, but it's still a pretty big accomplishment that we've done 50 episodes of the newscast, which I didn't think this newscast thing would be such almost weekly thing at this point of the career here, but I have fun doing these newscasts because it lets me interact and engage with the ACW audience, new and old, known and unknown. And it lets me kind of express my personal opinions on certain things, not just call, but everything in general. And at the same time, I get to hear you guys send me questions and comments and share your own opinions about certain things. So I love doing these newscasts, and here's to 50 more, right? So we're going to start things off here. Today we're going to start things off here a little differently. I usually go through the news items or certain things I want to talk about. Today I'm going to actually go through your questions and comments first, and then I'm going to have some things I want to talk about. Some that are controversial and some that aren't. But we are going to go through your questions and comments here first. We're going to do something a little bit different here. So let's get to it. And I'm going to just pull up my thing here if I can. If this thing wants to kind of be nice to me here right now. Trying to pull up a comment here, but let me see here. Okay, finally got one. Alright. John Black from YouTube gave me a question, and I didn't answer his question. This was actually a question he sent to me about a week ago, and I wasn't able to get to it, so I'm trying to rectify it here. But John Black sent me a question here saying, "Sorry to respond so late, but it's hard to access the internet where I am right now. My league is called Wrestling Alliance. And what do you think of anime about soccer?" I think what you're talking about, I think what you mean is, what do I think about anime and soccer? I think that's what you're going for, but I'll answer that question on that particular case. I'm a fan of anime. I love certain anime shows. Now let's not confuse anything here. I do run a call league that is Anime Championship Wrestling, and I am a fan of various anime shows in the past and present when I was a kid and when I was an adult. So that doesn't change or anything. But that doesn't mean I would be classified as a weeaboo or an otaku even. I'm not even one of those type of classifications of what an anime fan is. I'm just a fan. I'm just a person that happens to like certain anime shows, and I'm just a person that happens to run a call league that is based on anime and video game characters. That doesn't make me an otaku. That doesn't make me a weeaboo. Because I'm not either one of those things. I think those type of labels are extreme and label those type of people that are extreme as such. So I'm not part of that crowd. But generally, I do like anime. Anime is a form of animation. Now, granted, in my opinion, anime is cartoons, and cartoons are anime. It's a little bit kind of fishy and complex to go through it, but in my opinion, anime and cartoons are essentially the same thing. Only like extreme weeaboos take that really to the offense. But yeah, so that's my really pretty much general opinion about anime thing. I'm pretty much a fan of anime. In terms of soccer, I love soccer. I grew up in a soccer family. My dad played for the Nigerian national team back in I think 1988 or 86. I forget which year. But he did play professionally for them, and I would always, when I was a kid, watch my dad play soccer locally here whenever he got the chance. And he still does play soccer to this day. He tends to school some of these young dudes that play soccer, so it's pretty awesome to see. And I've never personally played soccer. I'm not the guy that plays soccer. I'm more of the guy that kind of observes and watches soccer and can kind of talk about it to a great extent. Because I grew up in a soccer kind of family. We used to watch soccer. It's kind of a religion in our household, kind of like how wrestling is. So, yeah, generally I am a big fan of soccer. You'll never hear me bash soccer. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Let me see here. I'll read this one too. Zeldiad123 said from YouTube, "CNN knows about Boku no Pico, don't they? Ugh. Ugh. Can I be honest with you guys? I've always see that name posted everywhere and heard about it, about Boku no Pico, and ugh. I haven't fully seen any episodes or anything. I've just seen the screenshots and ugh. Eventually, I'm gonna have to watch it just for the curiosity factor, but ugh, I don't know how prepared I am for it. But anyways, to continue, damn it. Just because a select few titles are child porn doesn't mean that all manga and anime are child porn. That's the smut the industry wants to distance itself from. Should I start counting down the amount of time it will take for Nickelodeon to go bankrupt? Nickelodeon has only two shows that are worth a damn: The Legend of Korra and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the latter of which is put on hiatus just so Nick can promote Michael Bay, Megan Fox, and Jonathan Lieberman's latest raping of childhood cinematic abortion. To address the first part kind of comes from the fact that CNN did a bit of a report a few weeks back about how essentially anime and manga are child pornography, which is a stupid exclamation if I ever heard of it. Again, you're talking about CNN. CNN is the type of ilk you would expect from your corporate state-run media, so that doesn't surprise me at the least. What does surprise me, however, is that they didn't do the research and they find these little loopholes and they find these misunderstandings about how to label an extreme selection of titles in anime and manga and generalize it as everything that is manga and anime. That's wrong, that's stupid, and it makes them look ridiculous. But again, this is a corporate state-run media you're talking about in America, so they're used to being ridiculed because ultimately they deserve it. I mean, is anyone going to tell me otherwise that they don't deserve it? I mean, I mean, the media is clearly proving that this week with the recent things that are going down in the news, and I will get to that later on in this newscast and stuff. But yeah, and then the second part, yeah, Nickelodeon. Man, a once great channel now is just a shell of their former self. This is the same network that gave me all that Kenan and Kel, Rugrats, Hey Arnold, Doug, Rocket Power, Rocko's Modern Life, Ren and Stimpy, Double Dare, Guts. This is the same network, right? This is the same network that has given me all those types of cartoons and game shows and reality shows, right? That's the same network, right? And now it's 2014, and you've got two shows that are decent to good, and you're now moving The Legend of Korra from television onto your online website for low ratings, even though you're the people that didn't even promote it enough to get ratings in the first place, dumb dicks. So you move Korra from television to online, just so you can kill it quietly. That's what you're really doing. And Teenage Mutant Turtles, you're putting on hiatus because he is right. You're doing it only because you want to milk the recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that just came out. And again, like I said, I think on the previous newscast, I haven't watched it, but I've heard the reviews that it is not a good movie. It's completely different from what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was all about. And I don't doubt that. You know, that's just the way we live in today's movie industry. You know, no one's original. No one can make any original movies anymore. So we have to do these remakes and sequels and spin-offs to successful titles in the past that probably should not be touched at all. And yet we continue to do it, and people continue to eat it up because it's good for them. No, it's not good for them. But I'm just talking about me, you know. I mean, there's reports that there's going to be like a Ghostbusters movie with an all-female cast. How the hell does that even work? We all know why. It's just stupid feminist crap. But again, that'll be for another day. But yeah. So those are my thoughts on those situations. Now we're going to go on to Facebook here. We're going to answer some Facebook questions here. Gary Connell Jr. asks the first question. What are your thoughts on Triple H recognizing indie talent? Well, first of all, props to Triple H, if it is his idea, which I think it is, for really reaching out to the independent scene and trying to pull out some of the best that the independent scene has to offer and bring them into the NXT developmental system to get them ready for the WWE stage. I am appreciative towards that. Although I would just say that they should have been doing this for years. They should have been doing this years ago. Around 2008, 2009, 2010, they should have been doing this already. Because you think about it now, I mean, This is kind of a knee-jerk reaction in some ways because the WWE has not had a long-term plan to bring in new talent. So when the old guard finally leaves, retires, or are gone from the company, these guys are ready to come in immediately to take those spots over. Because now that you think about it, you just look at what they could have done in 2008, 2009, 2010, and what kind of expenses they're kind of falling for it. Like, you think about it, HBK, he's retired. Edge, he was no longer wrestling because of a neck injury. Christian is starting to get up there in age. Triple H is a part-time wrestler. Brock Lesnar is a part-time wrestler. The Undertaker is a one-match wrestler at this point, and he might be retiring by next year. Batista is a part-time wrestler. You know, John Cena is going to be there for a while, but how long can you really ride that John Cena train before it completely crashes to a collision course where you're going to have to make a star? You're going to have to be forced to making a star no matter what. So you factor in those kind of things, and it's obvious that the WWE was realizing that, oh my goodness, we really don't have any new young stars ready to fill up these spots because we have been stalling for so long to play the same old game of the Randy Orton, Triple H, John Cena game, where it's all about them, or it goes all the way back to them, and not building any new stars in the process. Now, they're doing it now, but again, I would just caution those people that are trying to revel in the fact that this is a new generation that's coming in. That's all well and good, but you know, Daniel Bryan's out an injury right now. CM Punk is no longer with the company. Chris Hero, even though it was his fault that's why he got released, but still, he's no longer with the company. People were thinking he was going to be the next big thing along with Punk and Bryan. So I would just caution people, and you know, Cesaro's not even being used very well heading into SummerSlam. I don't even think he's going to. I personally don't think he's going to even have a match at SummerSlam, which would be a damn shame. But so I would just caution people to just relax with all the excitement over the talents. I'm glad to see independent talents coming in, but at the same time, I'm very skeptical and cynical about how they're going to use them and how they're going to make them big stars, because the WWE desperately needs them, or else this company is in trouble. Like I said before, all great empires eventually crumble. It was no different with Rome. It was no different with the English rule in Europe. It was no different with Germany in the 1930s and 40s. All great empires eventually fall. And if the WWE is not careful, they'll just have to be one of those that fall as well. Simple as that. Darian Rose thinks, he's asked me this first question. Number 1, what do you think of Seth Rollins in the Authority, and do you think he will cash in his Money in the Bank contract at SummerSlam? What do I think of Seth Rollins in the Authority? Well, he's doing, I guess, a decent job in his heel role right now, but I still think they split I almost got tongue-tied there. I still think they split the Shield way too soon, because you can just tell that they didn't have any long-term plans as to how they were going to really build up the momentum of them splitting up. I mean, you think about it, Seth Rollins turns heel, and yet Roman Reigns goes immediately for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I would think, Seth Rollins hit, Roman Reigns with the chair first. I would think Roman Reigns would have been the one feuding with Seth Rollins first before they went to Ambrose. Well, Ambrose is kind of conflicted which side does he have to be on, which would eventually be he would be against Rollins. That would have been a more intriguing story. You could have milked this whole split of the Shield for a good 6 months to even a year. Could have culminated in WrestleMania 31, where all three would have been better off for it. But instead, because you were worried about ratings, and you were worried about you having a lack of top, fresh new stars, you had to split the Shield up when they weren't ready yet, and I think you're seeing it now. I think, in my opinion, I don't think individually the Ambrose, Rollins, and Reigns are more over than they were 5 months ago when they were a unit. I don't think they are. I mean, they eventually will, but right now, as we're standing right now before SummerSlam, I don't think they're as over as they were when they were the Shield. I just don't see it. I think Roman Reigns, I think they're pushing him way too soon. I mean, there's certain times where you have to pull the trigger. There are just certain times in the wrestling business where you have to pull the trigger. see Goldberg, see Brock Lesnar. There's just certain exceptions, but with Roman Reigns, I don't think he's ready yet. I don't think he's ready to really be the top guy right now. Maybe in about 2 years' time, but right now, I just don't think he's ready. I think they're going to set him up for failure. And I would even question that WrestleMania 31 with him eventually winning the WWE World Heavyweight title from John Cena, that's still too soon. Unless they're going to try to work with him to find some way to, cover his weaknesses, like, his mic skills or whatever. But I'm not a fan of this force. And make no mistake about it, it's not a push, it's a force. There's a difference between pushing a guy and forcing a guy down your throat. Dean Ambrose, he's really doing some great things. He's probably the second best promo guy in the business next to Wyatt, but I can easily see him falling to the mid-card division, which there is no mid-card division because they don't know how to build their talent anymore. I can clearly see them doing that if they're not careful. And Seth Rollins, yeah, he's with the Authority, he's with Triple H right now, but when he's not, what's going to happen? When he does, cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase, and you asked if he's going to cash it at SummerSlam, I don't see him doing that, because Brock Lesnar is going to win the WWE World Heavyweight title at SummerSlam this Sunday, even though this whole Cena Lesnar feud and match is going to be so dumb dick in so many reasons, but at the same time, Lesnar's going to win the title, and I don't see Rollins cashing in on Lesnar. There's no way that's going to happen. And if Cena does retain, I still don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to have Seth Rollins get built up to eventually be fed to John Cena anyway, so it doesn't really fucking matter. So I just don't think Seth Rollins will cash in on Sunday, and Rollins is decent for now, but where's the end game? What's the long-term ramifications of him turning heel and being a heel and staying a heel for right now? That's what you have to ask. His second question: what are your predictions for SummerSlam on Sunday? Besides Cena versus Lesnar, which I know you want Lesnar to win, Cena will probably win though. I did state last week that and I just stated just a few seconds ago, Brock Lesnar's gonna win against Cena. There's no way you have Brock Lesnar end the streak at WrestleMania 30 against The Undertaker and just bring him into SummerSlam to challenge for the WWE World Heavyweight title and not have him win. That is so extremely stupid. John Cena doesn't need wins anymore. John Cena doesn't need to be protected anymore. We know that he's one of the greatest WWE superstars of all time. He's one of the greatest WWE champions of all time. He's one of the best guys in the business. We get it. We get the propaganda in WWE. We understand that. You don't need to protect John Cena anymore. A loss, and a clean loss at this point, would not hurt John Cena. That's what I don't understand. Why not Seth Rollins, for example, kind of beat John Cena at first? Or what if I'm thinking, who else? What if a Cesaro can beat John Cena clean? It's not gonna hurt John Cena. It's not gonna damage John Cena. No one's gonna think he's weak for losing to Cesaro cleanly. In fact, it would benefit John Cena because it would make him more human. That he can't always win matches clean 100%. It makes him more human, it makes him more relatable, therefore you're making more business and more interest for John Cena and everybody involved. Imagine that. But I'm getting carried away here. I think it's not the fact that I want Lesnar to win, because I think Lesnar winning is kind of stupid in a way. It's just that if I'm going to be taking the lesser of two evils, I just want Lesnar to win, just so we can get it over with. Because let's face it, folks, John Cena's just going to win it back. Lesnar's booked for Night of Champions, where I assume that's where Cena will just win it back a month into Brock Lesnar's WWE title reign, and this is just stupid. There's no build for it. There's just no hype for it. There's no intrigue for me for it. So Brock Lesnar will win that match, but who really cares? Prediction for SummerSlam. Stephanie will win against Brie, because I assume Nikki Bella will turn heel and nobody's gonna give a shit. And yeah. Bray Wyatt has to win against Jericho. He already lost at Battleground. He needs to beat Jericho here at a Big Four pay-per-view like SummerSlam. He needs to beat Chris Jericho in the ring at SummerSlam, or else at this point you might as well have Bray Wyatt start teaming up with Heath Slater and Hornswoggle, because that's how much devalued the character of Bray Wyatt has become ever since, WrestleMania 30, in my opinion. Rusev will probably win Yeah, I think Rusev will actually win the flag match against Swagger. They're trying to really build Rusev as this big, legit guy, this new monster heel, which really won't go anywhere because, Vladimir Kozlov works so well, right? But Rusev, to be fair, Rusev is a better wrestler and just a better kind of character than Kozlov ever was. And he's also got Lana as a great heat magnet, so they'll fare better. But there's rumors that Rusev might be feuding with Cena soon, so Rusev will pretty much be damaged very shortly. And what else is going on? Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. I still think them in a lumberjack match is so stupid. With the personal rivalry and animosity between those two, why wouldn't you have them have a hardcore style match? Or even you can do an unsanctioned match. You did it already in 2002 with Shawn Michaels and Triple H, and you produced one of the best SummerSlam matches of all time. I think Ambrose and Rollins could really exceed expectations if you put that kind of gimmick match with them at SummerSlam. But no, you didn't do that anyway, so we're going to have a stupid lumberjack match that isn't really needed, and it's going to distract away from the real purpose of Ambrose and Rollins. And I think, in my opinion, I think Rollins needs to win here, just to kind of keep his momentum going, just to really keep his heel turn more legit, and to really make him as a viable contender for whoever the WWE champion is when he does cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase. Ambrose can afford a loss, really, because he's so good on the mic and he's so good with his personality that a loss won't necessarily hurt him right here, and he can still feud with Seth Rollins. I am going to ask a question, though. Why isn't the Money in the Bank briefcase on the line, though? It's kind of like they've had this feud, and they're making it. They're saying it's bigger than the Money in the Bank briefcase, which is correct. But I would think like Ambrose would want to really screw over Rollins by try to win the Money in the Bank briefcase himself, and possibly become the one that cash it in when Rollins doesn't have the chance anymore. I mean, I would think so, right? Just saying. I think that's all the matches I really care about. Yeah, those are really all the matches I care about to predict. So I won't be watching SummerSlam live. Well, I'll be trying to watch the first few hours, but I have work on Sunday, so I won't be able to watch like the main event or anything like that. But we'll see. Gary Connell Jr. asked me a second question here. When do you think the Authority storyline will finally die? I mean, seriously, that whole physical therapist segment was just pathetic. And Joshua Howe actually gave me another response here saying, I just want to hear you kill the Claire Lynch 2.0 story. I'll agree with you on the fact that TNA has my interest more than ever. Wow. Wow. What a dumb dick storyline that was on Monday night. For all the faults that TNA has, and a lot of it is justified because it really is god-awful when TNA does some stupid crap. The fact that the WWE is not getting nearly as much of backlash for what they pulled on Monday is mind-boggling. Not surprising, but mind-boggling. You're telling me that Stephanie McMahon brought in some ugly-ass bitch who no one could buy that Daniel Bryan would actually have a side chick. Because let's face it, Daniel Bryan is married to, well, not in my opinion, but to some, he's married to one of the hottest divas in the roster. And you're telling me that Daniel Bryan's side chick is this ugly bitch here that can't act worth a shit. To be fair, Brie Bella can't act either, but that's not really the point. The point of the matter is that you're telling me Stephanie McMahon brought in some physical therapist that was claiming to be cheating on Daniel Bryan, and Brie Bella almost bought into it. Oh my god. You know what? At least with the Claire Lynch storyline, as god awful as that was, at least we got good matches out of it between Daniels, Kazarian, and AJ Styles. You get Brie Bella and Stephanie McMahon at SummerSlam. Just saying. This is so stupid on so many levels. And it's kind of a more of a undercutted way of the WWE saying that, look at Daniel Bryan. He's a B+ player. He's so much of a B+ player that he couldn't even pull an A+ side chick. He had to pull an F-. He had to pull one of the ugly ones you see near your local liquor store when you're in the hood. That's pretty much what they were trying to tell you with Daniel Bryan. So they continue to bury Daniel Bryan when Daniel Bryan really can't even respond. It's going to be interesting to see when Daniel Bryan comes back to see the reaction he gets. It's going to be very interesting, but freaking stupid from the WWE. And WWE does copy from TNA like TNA does copy from WWE. It's a cycle. It's pro wrestling. Get over it. Companies copy each other in wrestling all the time. It's not the first and it won't be the last. But this is so stupid on so many ways. So you're telling me on the final stretches of the SummerSlam pay-per-view, your way to kind of build the last few remaining minutes of the Stephanie Brie Bella feud is to bring that kind of bullcrap to our television? See, this is why people don't really want to watch the wrestling business anymore. This is why people don't want to watch WWE anymore. Now, honestly, if you want to be honest, they get like, what? They get the over 3.0 rating, but honestly, those are just WWE fanboys, and probably some casual wrestling fans, and yes, some of the internet fans as well, that watch WWE. It's not really saying that, WWE is doing anything big. The wrestling kind of audience is myopic at this point. It's kind of non-existent compared to, say, 10 years ago. Damn sure compared to 15 to 20 years ago. So, and this is what you do. This is why people laugh at professional wrestling. Because of stupid shit like this. And this is the way you're going to kind of capitulate one of your most long-built feuds for SummerSlam so far. Is that how you do it? I understand. What a stupid storyline. This just kind of epitomizes everything that's about WWE at this point. Let me see here. Darian Ross asked me, which WWE superstar or legend do you want to be on the roster in WWE 2K15 and why? Well, I have Sting. Sting's in there, so that's kind of one of them. Who else would I want? Just because I'm a fan of him, I always like Bret Hart in the game, so Bret Hart would be another one. I would like the Four Horsemen as like a unit to be in a video game, though. I would like I'm talking about the best version of the Four Horsemen. That would be Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and Barry Windham with J.J. Dillon as a manager. I would like to see the Four Horsemen as a unit on a video game. I think that would be interesting. And yeah, I would like to see that. What other people? They pretty much get all the legends that I kind of asked for. I mean, it's not really a selling point for me to buy it, but whatever. I think that's about it for now. I got Sting already. I would like the Four Horsemen in there. Yeah, you can put back Mr. Perfect. That'd be another one. Yeah, I'll leave it at that, because that's a pretty good question that's kind of got me stumped a little bit. Gary Connell Jr. asked me the third and fourth final question here. What does the future hold for WWE if they don't change their ways? I kind of alluded to it a few minutes ago, but like I said, all great empires eventually crumble. I remember there was a quote that allegedly Alexander the Great once said, and I'm just paraphrasing here, and I'm going to probably botch it, but whatever. He said something to the effect that the worst part of being a ruler is that once you have conquered everything that you wanted, there is nothing anything for you to rule. And in a way, that's kind of the WWE today. I mean, TNA is still having their negotiations with Spike TV to find out if there even is going to be an Impact Wrestling by the end of the year. Ring of Honor is not a viable competitor to the WWE. They're pretty much their farm system, their unofficial farm system at this point. Jeff Jarrett's Global Force Wrestling still hasn't even really gotten a TV deal, much less any house show dates, so they're not really a factor at this point either, until that otherwise. And there's the other independent leagues like Chikara and Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and CZW and all that stuff, but honestly, they are what they are for a reason. That's not necessarily a bad thing or anything, but let's be honest with ourselves. I mean, some will probably mention, New Japan Pro Wrestling but not really. I mean, they would have to establish a new audience with the English with the North American audience, and it's going to take years for them to do that. So WWE, in essence, is the only wrestling promotion in town. So that's why you get crappy product from the WWE, because they don't have competition anymore. You know, they don't have competition from another wrestling promotion. I mean, UFC, I mean, in a way, it is kind of competition, it's kind of not. And that kind of relates to your fourth question. What are your thoughts on Triple H and Stephanie taking shots at the UFC? It's funny, WWE, Triple H, and Stephanie are taking shots at the UFC, yet the UFC are producing more pay-per-view buy rates than the WWE, so much that WWE had to create their own network to kind of get away from the traditional business model that is dying for them. And they still can't even get that right with the $9.99 bullcrap they were been advertising for weeks now. And they still can't even get over 1 million subscribers. I mean, you have 3 to 4 million people that watch your television show Raw, but you can't even get 1 million subscribers to your WWE network. Just saying. In a way, they are competition. In a way, they're not. Because let's be quite honest here. Dana White does adapt and take certain philosophies that Vince McMahon has implemented in pro wrestling or sports entertainment. So that's obvious. Dana White does the same thing, and people that don't think otherwise are just being morons. But right now, UFC is the hot dog. It's the hot, thing on campus right now. It's the top dog of the yard. It is. And while I do kind of think UFC is going to kind of fall by the wayside eventually, because that's just what every hot trend does. Kind of like boxing in the 80s and pro wrestling in the 90s. They all fall, so... But, in essence, I think Triple H and Stephanie need to tread lightly here, because the fact of the matter is, they've taken almost half of their audience in the past 10 years. And the audience that you have can't even subscribe for the WWE Network. Again, just saying. So I would be treading lightly with how you talk about a potential competitor in the UFC. But right now, WWE is the only game in town, and until some company is viable enough to really take it to the WWE and run a business even better than the WWE. If there was a business that can run it better than the WWE right now, WWE would be in panic mode. Unfortunately, we have TNA, and unfortunately we have other promotions, so I don't see it anytime soon. And Kyle Franks asks me this question here. When Dean Ambrose made the lumberjack match stipulation, did you think he was going to make Seth Rollins put the contract on the line? You're just talking about the Money in the Bank contract. Yeah, I thought he would, This is a feud that you can really kind of milk even after SummerSlam. So now that you don't put the Money in the Bank contract on the line, you can actually milk this feud for what it's worth. So that's why I said, Seth Rollins can win. Seth Rollins can win on Sunday to keep his heel heat and make his heel turn legitimate even more. That way Dean Ambrose can still come after Seth Rollins and challenge him again at Night of Champions, only this time the Money in the Bank contract would be on the line, where Dean Ambrose could possibly win and make Seth Rollins' life a living hell. So much that Seth Rollins now is the one that'll be chasing Ambrose, and Rollins can ask for Dean Ambrose for another match. Say, I think the next pay-per-view after Night of Champions would be like Hell in a Cell. Do that there. Again, you can milk this feud as much as you like. The question is, will they? And going by recent events and going by recent years of quote-unquote the WWE creative, I don't see that happening. But it's very possible to do if the WWE wants to do it. That's the ultimate question at the end of the day. But, yeah, I kind of thought they would. I kind of thought they would, they would ask, they would make Rollins put up his Money in the Bank briefcase up at SummerSlam, but I guess for asking for common sense in the WWE and their storylines are just doing too much. And Hugo Goncalves, I always kind of botched that last time, I apologize, closes out this questions and answers portion of the newscast this week with 2 questions. One, about the ACW exhibition match between Solid Snake and Donkey Kong. Will you make an arena similar to the boxing ring stage, and will you add Sakurai as the guest referee in that match? First of all, base god Sakurai. second, second of all, it's funny that you mentioned the boxing ring stage, because I kind of forget. I'll kind of spoil it here because you won't see it till December anyways. But I actually made about 2 to 3 months ago. I made the Super Smash Brothers boxing ring on WWE 13, which I will be using for the Super Smash Brothers Brawl for All special. So yes, you guys are getting good with the way I kind of subtly hint certain things. But yes, I made the boxing ring already. It was supposed to be a surprise, but whatever. Yeah, so it won't make its debut on the exhibition match, but on the Super Smash Bros. Brawl for All special that we're gonna do for Animania Week this December to get you guys hyped up for Animania 3. The boxing ring will be the boxing ring will be the stage we use for the special. So yeah, get to see it. And no, Sakurai won't be refereeing. He's got a game to promote. He may be base god Sakurai, but he can't do everything. I mean, he can. Like, he fucked all my bitches, and I'm really thankful that, base god Sakurai fucked all my bitches, and I'm really grateful for that. So thank you, base Sakurai. I'm so stupid sometimes. And number 2, which video editing software do you use to create your videos? I use Magic Movie Edit Pro. I think it's like 2014. It's called Magic Edit Pro 2014. That's the kind of that's the video software that I use. So the thing is, I use the Hauppauge HD PVR Gaming Edition software to record the matches and record the segments, and then I use the Magic Movie Edit Pro 2014 to edit and do post production stuff for it and whatnot, and then I use Windows Movie Maker for the commentary, to do the commentary aspect of the shows and whatnot. So it's a really good editing software for any one of you guys that are, and this is my advice again to the colleagues that are out there, those that exist, have been existing, or are about to exist. This is YouTube in 2014. Back in 2006, 2007, you could have kind of gotten away with recording your colleague with the camera, because everyone that knows me knows that that's what I used to do with ACW when it started in 2006. I used to use a camera to record the shows with commentary with the camera, so you could hear background noise a lot. And a lot of old school ACW fans will tell you straight up before I will, but that's what I used to do, and I would use Windows Movie Maker as my editing software. So yes, you could have gotten away with that in 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008 with colleagues on YouTube. But as often, technology is always evolving, and it's 2014, and now we have different ways to do cause shows. Capture cards and recording software are more common than they ever been. So I would like to tell every upstart colleague out there, if you want to have a surefire, successful colleague, one, you need a capture card. You need a capture card, or you need some sort of recording device that won't look choppy or won't look of low quality. It has to be at least of standard quality for you to do your shows. Just recording your shows with cameras, they don't work in 2014. People just aren't going to watch it anymore. People just aren't going to watch that kind of stuff in 2014. It's just a fact. I would even venture to say, even though this is not a bigger deal, but it kind of is in a way, try to get a better video software too for your shows. Windows Movie Maker is really the very basic stuff. It restricts a lot of things you can do with a lot of recordings on video. So I would, get a Sony Vegas, or a Magic Movie Pro, Edit Pro, or something of that kind to kind of make your creative differences and influences go into doing your shows. Um, Always be creative and always be different. You know, don't always just do what everybody else is doing, because I'm starting to see a trend in colleagues these days, whether it's fantasy colleagues or original colleagues or whatever, that people either create the same kind of creative wrestler model, all tattooed up, always wearing a hoodie, always having a mustache, always having an angry face look, or just like with a fantasy character, they use the same fantasy characters in almost every call league, and none of them stand out. My goal with ACW was to introduce fans to animes they probably never heard of and characters they never heard of. At the same time, use well-known anime characters that kind of build up and get you interested, the ones that you're recognized with. I mean, I could have easily used Goku and Vegeta and Inuyasha and Yusuke and Ichigo and Naruto, and I could have just easily went the easy way and just done all that and gotten my views like that, but I saw the bigger picture and I said, well, let me get a Haru Glory here. Let me get a Davis and Woody right there. Or, let me get Rin here. Stuff like that is what I do. And then also I implement storyline progress. I implement storytelling and psychology. That's another thing. That's another problem with CAW these days. There's not a lot of storytelling. There's not a lot of storytelling and psychology with certain colleagues these days. I mean, I'll see matches where there's always people flying almost every 5 seconds, and I'm not even just talking about one match. It's fine if you do it with one match, because I do with the cruiserweights. Sometimes there are certain matches in the cruiserweight division where it's all flying, but you don't. But I'm starting to see a trend where you see it on every match, or it's a finisher fest. Somebody gets a finisher 6 times and they still are able to kick out. Like, really? If the storyline calls for it, like for me personally, if the storyline calls for it, then the finisher fest is fine. Somebody, like, say if a character had an F5 and you do it 3 times to put away the character, that's fine if the story calls for it. But if it doesn't, you're just doing it just to do it. That makes no sense. It just makes everything look ridiculous. Or all these reversal roll-up pins, or all these reversal kind of pin attempts. If it doesn't add to the story, then it doesn't really add to the match. You're just doing it just to do it. So that's kind of a trend I'm starting to see with CAW. Not a lot of psychology and storytelling being implemented. There's reasons why I do certain things in certain matches. Like, go look at it. Always, go back on a recent episode of Excel and Impulse. For the most part, every match that I do is different from each other. For the most part, every match is different from one another, because that's what I intend to do. Because the storylines are different, the characters are different, the plot demands different. So I try to explain it with my commentary, but really with the match, it should explain it for itself. Even if you have me on mute, it should explain for itself. It's a different story every time. Like, take a look at Impulse, for example, this past week. The Cruiserweight title match. The Cruiserweight number 1 contender match. All 4 had a purpose, and like I kept saying, the wild card could win, and he eventually won. Dark Magician made his debut against Kyo. Even though Dark Magician was getting hyped up, it didn't defer from the fact that Kyo was still trying to win to get his win, and Dark Magician was trying to prove himself with his own win. Just saying. And then you have Anime 4Kids defending their titles against Choji and Kankuro. Choji and Kankuro were trying to fight a 3-on-2 battle, while Anime 4Kids were establishing themselves as corporate sellouts that will do anything to win when it calls for it, and that's what they did when Gary kept interfering. So those are the type of stories that I implement, because I am kind of an old school kind of guy. Even though I grew up in '91, I kind of like the old school implements in wrestling still. So I apply that with my colleague every time. So, that's what makes ACW different from a lot of other colleagues. That's what makes ACW one of the best colleagues in my opinion, obviously, but to a lot of people as well. I think that's what makes HCW one of the best colleagues today, because we're different. And we're not different just to be different. We're not being different just to be cool. We're just different because we like to be unique, and we like to implement different things that nobody else is doing. And hopefully colleagues kind of look at HCW as a way to kind of implement putting crowd psychology and in-ring psychology and storyline telling and plot devices and character development, because I'm not really seeing it with a lot of colleagues these days. But hopefully they can implement that and they can see a lot of success when it comes to their colleague. So, kind of went a little mini diatribe there with Call, but I felt it was necessary. But anyways, by the way, for those that are asking, yes, we are going an hour today with this newscast because I just said F it. I'm not going to even try to go short because I have a lot of things to talk about. So yeah, that answers the that question, and that'll end our question and comments portion of today's newscast. Be sure, if you have a question or comment you want to send to me, you want me to read and answer, make sure you guys send me your questions and comments down below on this video, or make sure you can post a question on my Facebook, www.facebook.com/AnimeCWrestling. That's Facebook.com/AnimeCWrestling. You're always available to send me a question or comment, and I will read it as much as I can, as soon as I can, on any newscast. You can also post your questions and comments under the Facebook status when I do ask for those questions. And like I said, you can also post those questions and comments down below here on YouTube or any video site that you may be on, and I can try to answer that as well. So that'll end that. But so I want to talk about something here that kind of has had me engaged for this past week. Now, I already said my piece about Robin Williams passing away on the Newscast 49 on Tuesday this week, so that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I am here to talk about is something that's been kind of captivating the nation for these past few days here, and that is something that I need to talk to you guys about, and that I want to express my opinions about. So, as everyone should probably know by now, Saturday afternoon last week, I believe an 18-year-old young African-American teenager by the name of Michael Brown was with his friend, and again, the reports haven't really been official yet, but by what we're just getting from is that a policeman happened to be driving by Michael Brown and his friend, and had some sort of problem with the way he was walking, and so they had a bit of a struggle when he was trying to grab Michael Brown, and Michael Brown kind of had a struggle to get free and ran off, and then the cop was shooting at Michael Brown, shot him in the back, and Michael Brown was hit, turned around and had his hands up to say that I'm not armed, I'm not going to hurt you, nothing's going to happen. The cop kept shooting dead at him for multiple bullets at a second, and he went down, and he was found dead after he was so unresponsive for a long time. By reports going on by certain eyewitnesses, they said that it took them 45 minutes at least for any paramedics to come by to warrant the body, so they didn't even really ask for immediate help at the scene of the crime. And Ferguson, Missouri, this is where it happened, which is said to be some place where violence is at a low, and yet it has become the forefront of civil rights this past few days. Even to 2 days ago, where it got really violent, where you saw the Ferguson Police Department represent some sort of militia. Even it looked like a military crew had arrived into Ferguson, Missouri, to try to shoot rubber bullets and toss tear gas into the protesters. Now, I need to address something here right now, because again, this is where the mainstream media is just so pathetic in the way they report things and the way they kind of misconstrue things. Here's the first thing here. Anybody in the news that is telling you that there was looting and rioting, and that they're calling them looters and rioters, they're morons, and you should laugh at them at every chance you get. And even if they did, even if the rioters and looters statements are true, so what? They only did it because of the militarization of the police at the scene of the crime. Of course they were going to riot and loot if they see that their own community, if they see that their own police department has no interest to protect and serve them. What happens when you keep poking a caged animal? The animal's going to eventually break from the cage and start wrecking shit. What did you expect? You know? There's also reports that are saying that Michael Brown looted some cigars from the store. Let me ask you something real quick, and this goes for anybody. What hood or any like liquor store or any department store, whatever, what store do you know has tobacco products like out in front? The tobacco products are usually behind the counter. So how the hell was Michael Brown able to steal cigars from behind the counter and without a hitch, without nobody saying anything, without nobody coming forward? Just saying. The fact that the police department did not even give us a name until today. It's been since Saturday. It'll be almost a week since this tragedy has happened. And make no mistake about it, a police officer murdered a young teen. Make no mistake about it. He didn't just kill a teen, he murdered him. Premeditated murder. First degree murder. Period. Anyone that's trying to justify it are just being stupid and naive. And that's the nicest way I can put it. What happened was murder. It is an American tragedy, but you know what? As much as people want to say this is not about race, and to an extent, I can understand where they're coming from that it's not about race, but to be perfectly honest, it is about race. It is about race, otherwise the police department would have released the information they released today, now 6 days after the fact that they just murdered a child. It is a race issue in many ways. In most ways it is. Deal with it. I'm 23 years old. I'm 23 years old. A young African American. I look intimidating, even though I'm probably the nicest person you're ever gonna meet in this world. But I look intimidating. I won't deny that. I look intimidating. I'm big. I got muscles on me because I'm an athlete. So I understand that. Do you understand how many times that I've walked into my local Walmart store and I have to walk past like these old white couples, and they give you a look, or they go to the other side of the aisle because they see me passing? That's the state. That's kind of the world we live in. I have to say though, I want to give social media the biggest amount of respect and credit. I want to give Anonymous even, the hacker group, hacker Slackovist group there, but I want to give them credit as well, because the media won't do it. Because let's be honest, if social media and Anonymous didn't bring this issue to the forefront, the mainstream media would have not covered it nearly as much as they are now, to the point where this would have been an unsung tragedy in its own right. And here's the deal. Here's the real good part about this, if you will, quote unquote. For every Michael Brown, there are 1,000 Michael Browns out there that their story is not being told on national media. It's not just Michael Brown. To a large extent, it's not even about Trayvon Martin. Of course, this was going to happen. We're just coming off. We're just coming off the Trayvon Martin situation and the George Zimmerman verdict. We're just coming off from that. So there's already still racial tension still with that whole ordeal. And now this happens. And the police department is trying to cover it up, which they are. Make no mistake about it, the police department of Ferguson, Missouri are trying to cover up this case as this being a young, unruly African-American teen that stole some cigars. That way the police had justification to murder a child. There's no justification of murder in this instance. Michael Brown could have stolen $1,000 worth of stores. Who gives a shit? That doesn't justify you having to do premeditated murder on a kid. No justice whatsoever on this case. So of course, coming from the aftermath of the Trayvon Martin situation, the fact that Obama has been pretty disappointing in his presidency, and now that you have this Michael Brown incident and the Ferguson riots that's been happening these past couple of days as of late, what did you expect? But you know what's going to happen? You know what's going to happen, and I'm going over now, but I don't really give a damn. You know what's going to happen? You're going to go on mainstream media, you're going to hear all these people try to do these stupid-ass race discussions, these special edition race discussions, like we need those, like that's what we need to do at this point. No, I'm trying not to cuss so much, but it's very aggravating and just irritating for these people to really come out here and justify something that is clear, cold-blooded murder. How do you live with yourself to justify something like that, or excuse something so asinine and so tragic and unfortunate such as that? You know, I mean, you're gonna go on any media. It doesn't really matter because they're all corrupt and they're all corporate and they're all just here to poison your mind. That's all it is. And trust me, I know I don't sound the most articulate when it comes to this kind of issue, but trust me, I know what the hell I'm talking about. So let's not even try. But regardless of that, you're gonna go to these mainstream media news networks, and they're gonna bring like half white people. They're gonna bring like an audience that is half white and half black, and they're gonna try to do race discussions like that's what we freaking need. We don't freaking need that. We've done all the discussions of race we're gonna need to do in this lifetime. It's not about that anymore, and it's not enough to really solve the situation. All these marches, all these people that all these people that are trying to claim peace. Let me tell you something. Let me ask you a question, and let me ask everybody that's listening a question. How many times do you have to be slapped in the face before you are forced to block the hand? Can you answer that question for me? How many times must you be slapped across the face by somebody until you have to block the hand that keeps swinging at you? No. It's not unruly. You know, people are saying, well, that's kind of stupid that, you know, people are kind of, you know, destroying their own community. What community? The same community that's trying to cover up this murder of another young African-American teen? The same community that harbors a police department that's trying to put the blame on these people that are protesting peacefully and calling them rioters and looters? Get the hell out of here. What community? It's not like, even if they own a house, the same community that they own a house about, but they still have to pay taxes for? Oh, you're talking about that community. A lot of white knighting and justice defenders here that are trying to make this into something that it's not. It shouldn't be a race issue, and in some ways it's not. It's a human issue, because humanity is so screwed up with their thought process and their priorities that this is the way we have to react in certain tragedies like this. But I'm sorry, it is also a race issue as well. I'm sorry, it clearly is. I mean, I hate to really try to sound like this, but I hate to really try to sound like Al Sharpton here, because God knows, I think anyone that knows me at this point, everyone knows I can't fucking stand Al Sharpton, I can't stand Jesse Jackson, I can't stand the NAACP. I think they're all a bunch of crooks. I think that those guys manipulate the African American community and try to squeeze every bit of money they can possible out of them. I think they're race hustlers. I think they're only in it for themselves, obviously. I think, who the hell elected these guys as my representatives in terms of my problems? Are you kidding me? I've never liked them. Even when I was a kid, I always had this kind of disgusting feeling towards Sharpton and Jackson and the NAACP, because I think they're just all about the money, which they clearly are. Otherwise, they're all about the attention. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been there, period. I don't give a damn who you are. So, but that said, I hate to sound like them, of all people, but if it had been a black cop that shot and murdered a young Caucasian teenager, I'll even do you one better. If a black cop, a 6-year veteran black cop, same city, same setting, if that black cop had shot and murdered a young Caucasian female, oh my God. And everybody that knows what I'm about to say knows where I'm coming from. Oh my God. He wouldn't even have went through the justice system. he would have already had justice been served to them by the locals over there. And we know what justice we're talking about, aren't we? So, let's not pretend like if the situation had been reversed, there would have been a lynch mob, literally and figuratively, towards that black cop. But I think what people need to keep in mind, however, is at the end of the day, we lost a teenager in all this. At the end of the day, we lost a teenager that was about to head to college this semester. And now he can't even do that. He can't even be given the opportunity anymore. He can't even be given the opportunity anymore to create a future for himself. That could have been a future doctor. That could have been a future lawyer. That could have been a future firefighter. Ironically enough, that could have been a future policeman. And you killed him. You murdered him. And for what? Honestly, that's really what I ask in all of this. For what? And maybe I know the answer. Maybe I'm just naively asking the question, but it still needs to be asked. For what? Why would you go out of your way to use your own emotional feelings and your own preconceived notions of certain people of color and just do that? Don't you know that he has a family? He probably has siblings that look up to him, and now he's gone. A mother and a father have just lost their son this week. You know, I mean, and I'm still irritated, but I'm just getting more sad when I talk about it because I'm the oldest of five kids that my mom and dad had. And I always, I've always told them that I'm not a role model. Because I've done stupid shit before that would not classify me as a role model. I don't try to be a role model because I'm not worried about people's opinions. And I always tell them I want you guys to do better than I did when I was your age. That's what I always tell them. And at times I watch the news here and it's like, that could easily have been me. That could easily be one of my brothers. I even got a sister. That could have been her too. And I always tell them, be careful, man. Be careful where you go. Be careful where you go, who you hang out with, what kind of situations you involve yourself with. Because in 2014, it doesn't matter how much progress we made. You're still an African American in 2014 America. And anything can happen. Anything can happen. And that's just the reality of it. People can call this racist, and it makes me laugh because it's not even close to racist. It's not even racist. It's just being honest. I would think a lot of people would just understand that this is just being honest. All these young African Americans have had that talk, and we all know that talk we're talking about, aren't we? Especially when it comes to handling the police. We've all had that talk before. In a post-racial world, we shouldn't have that talk, but we just don't live in one. I don't give a damn what people say about it, how much progress we've made. Oh, we have a black president now, even though the black president isn't really doing shit for the community anyways. But we don't live in a post-racial world. That's a utopian that does not exist. So, I'm very aware. Whenever I'm driving, I'm always looking over my shoulder if there's any police behind me, because I have to. Because you just never know these days. They can pull you over for anything and really brand you as something you're not. They can do that. They have the power. They have the power. Come on, guys, wake up. They have the power. But we also have the power as well to do something to it. We have the power to do something about it. This is what social media should be for, to raise awareness and bring people together in a uniting cause. And I was following Twitter pretty much all week as it pertains to this whole ordeal, and just imagine, it's just awesome to see the outpouring of multiple cities and countries, even going all the way to Iraq and Iran and in the Gaza Strip. and how they're sending in gas mask tactics and sending their support and love to Ferguson, Missouri. That's how I know social media can really do a lot of good things for this world, because Lord knows nobody else is going to do it. So I assume that this problem is just only beginning. It's not going to go away, even if the mainstream media refuses to cover it anymore or decides to not give it as much prominence as it would. It's not going to go away, not for a while. The social media forefront will hold accountable to the things that doesn't sound right or isn't right, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, again, we lost a teenager. We lost a young teenager, a young African American teenager. For what? Because he was black? Obviously, but I'm just asking the question, for what? So, rest in peace, Michael Brown. Hopefully, wherever you may be, I hope it's a better place than wherever the hell this is. Whatever the hell this America, or whatever the hell this society is. I hope wherever you are, ironically enough, it'll give you more peace than any peace that could ever be in this world. And that's just my thoughts. So, I just wanted to speak on my own opinion and thoughts about that whole situation, that I was following. So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for following me and listening to me today for this week's newscast. A very long newscast, doing an hour. But since you guys are going to be, preparing yourself for Animania 3 week in December, I am going to be doing hour-long newscast, and I might even actually do live 1 hour newscast for Animania 3 week. Maybe you guys should comment down below. Should I do live newscast? Do a Google Plus stream newscast with you guys sending me questions live as we are doing it? Maybe I could do something like that for Animania 3 week. So send me your thoughts on that. But I'm going to end it here because we've gone as long as we were going to get at this point. At least I didn't promise I was going to cut it short this time. At least I went long, so you have that. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you guys for joining me with another newscast. Number 50! Let's go for 50 more for these next few years, okay? But I am Hakeem Johnson, as always, to tell you guys to stay cool. Stay cool. See you guys later.